Switchcraft is brought to you live 3 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern and on Saturday at whatever time I can get to it. Tune in live at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp. This episode of Switchcraft is brought to you by Pierre Luc. Support Switchcraft and my other content for as little as $1 over at patreon.com/runjumpstomp. And then we will save that. And then every time that I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So I'll skip forward some time and then we will do the sponsor. This is episode 224. Episode 224 of Switchcraft is brought to you by Amazon Prime. I've been a member of Amazon Prime for a really long time. I use the video service, although there's things about it that I would change, but it's a really good video service. I don't use the music service, but I actually know quite a few people that do, and the only reason that I don't use the music service is because I can't yell at my phone and have it start playing music, and that's why I use Apple Music for that. But what I do use a lot of for Amazon Prime is that free shipping. Being able to get an item like that I buy from Amazon and have it shipped to my house in 2 days without having to pay for shipping is definitely worth the price of entry. I'm a big fan of Amazon Prime. And in addition to that, you also can link Amazon Prime to Twitch Prime. And then once you have Twitch Prime, you get free games every month and for the PC. And you can also subscribe to your favorite streamer. Hopefully it's this one right here. But if not, make sure that you subscribe to your favorite streamer, no matter who they are. And if you want to try out Amazon Prime for free for 30 days, all you need to do is head on over to runjumpstomp.com/Amazon Prime. Once you're there, follow the steps that they tell you. You will get your free month of Amazon Prime, and you can start ordering things off the internet, having them show up at your door 2 days later with no shipping costs at all. So I highly recommend Amazon Prime. It is the one subscription that I don't think we could live without here at the house, because my wife and I are constantly getting things delivered to the house that normally we would have to go to the store for. And I hate going to the store. I don't want to go out and deal with people in meat space. I would very much prefer to be in my own little walled off area where people aren't gonna you know how it is out there. It's terrible. Anyway, runjumpstomp.com/Amazon Prime. Save. All right, we got all that stuff out of the way. Before I get to the news, there we go. Before I get to the news, there's a couple of quick announcements that I want to tackle. The first one is I almost can't believe that I am saying this because it is pretty bananas, but Nintendo Switchcraft has been nominated for a podcast award, which is really, really crazy. I registered the show, and then people nominated it, and they take the top 10 from each category who got nominated, and those are the ones that are then voted on by a panel of podcasters and listeners, and I forget who else, but a bunch, I think they said 1,500 people vote on who wins. And I just wanted to take a second and thank everybody who took the time out of your day to nominate Nintendo Switchcraft for a podcast award. I think that it's crazy, and I still can't believe it. Let me just bring it up. Podcast awards. It's the podcastawards.com, and if you scroll down to the nominees, you can see that mine is right underneath the games and hobbies, which is It's right there, number 1, 2, 3, 4, Nintendo Switchcraft. So crossing my fingers that that this comes through. And even if it doesn't, it's just crazy that that happened. So thank you guys so much for nominating Nintendo Switchcraft. Before we go any further, I have more good news about the show. We are probably, with this episode, we will hit 300,000 downloads since I switched hosts. I used to be on Squarespace, and then I switched over to Fireside because I was having some issues with the Squarespace one. And since then, the show's been downloaded 300,000 times, which is just insane to me. And it'll probably be this episode because that usually gets a certain number, and I think that we'll push it right over the top after that. So I just wanted to thank you guys for downloading the show. Thank you for nominating the show. Just thank you in general. You guys are awesome. Now, without any further ado, no, there's more ado. We have one more ado to mention, but you know what? I'm gonna take that and throw it on at the end of the show. So hopefully I will remember to mention it. Let's get into the news. Save. Feels like a Tuesday. It does feel like a Tuesday. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Fireside. They're more expensive than other podcast hosts, but I feel like they do a wonderful job over there. And like, I'm on the Slack and constantly talking to the owner of the website, so he's really, really responsive. Yeah, man, I'd love to have a copy of the interview. Shoot that to me, will you? Whoa, you know, now's a good time. When's that coming out, Zap? Why is that all the way up there, by the way? Twitch chat should be... That's coming out on Wednesday. Was it really tough to edit, man? There we go. That's better. Was that a really tough thing to edit because of the way that we recorded it? And I also need the URL, or is this going to be on your Switched Pixels one? All right. While I'm waiting for him to answer, let me go ahead and open up the first story. And we're going to be talking about VR, which is a weird thing to say. Road2VR.com. Okay. Let's hit record. Well, our first news story today is something that I didn't really expect to hear, and I am also pretty skeptical of it. Not that the people who are reporting it are lying, but the way I the way I look at it is I think that this is not a very big indicator of anything. If you're curious, what is he talking about? You can find this article through the show notes, or you can go to road2vr.com. And there is a test VR or test virtual reality mode that has been uncovered by people who are modding the Nintendo Switch, which is really strange. Now, I don't know how strange it is. Well, okay. How do I want to explain my thoughts here? It shouldn't be a huge surprise that that this kind of thing was found on the Nintendo Switch, because we already knew that Nintendo had considered doing something along these lines. They filed a patent. I can't remember when this actually came out, but it was a while back, where they had a schematic of a device that you would slide into a VR headset. And, you know, the Nintendo Switch is a device that could do that, I suppose. If you take off the Joy-Cons and You know, you hold it right there. It's actually pretty big for a VR headset. I don't know. I feel like this is big, although, to be honest, I don't feel like I've ever actually used one of the modern VR headsets. The reason I'm skeptical of this is because this is, first of all, this is heavy. When I first got the Nintendo Switch, and I'm on the wrong screen, when I first got the Nintendo Switch, that was the first thing that I noticed when I took this out of the box was how heavy this was. This thing it's dense. All right. It has some heft to it. And I can't imagine that this is what you would want when it comes to virtual reality. This seems very, very heavy. So the idea of having a pair of goggles on in front of me and then sliding the Nintendo Switch into those goggles to then have the virtual reality stuff where it basically it splits the screen into two screens, one on the left, one on the right. Here, I'll show you a picture if you're watching the video, where you've got the same picture on both sides, but slightly off, and that gives you the illusion of three dimensionality. I think that that's definitely something that can come from Nintendo down the road. And right now, the only company who's dipping their toe in the water of VR is Sony. Microsoft is kind of doing their augmented reality thing instead, and Nintendo kind of did augmented reality with the 3DS as well, using a camera. Nintendo did post that, what's the word on that, patent for that slide-in thing, but I don't see this happening for the Switch. And I find it really strange that this software is on the Switch. And the reason why I find it really strange is because the Switch has a resolution of 1280 by 720 or 720p. And 720p is really low res for for virtual reality. I mean, even if you are looking at the PSVR, PSVR, I believe, is 1080p. Actually, Res TV in chat is saying PSVR is a bit better than 1080p, and it's still too low res. 720p would be horrible. Yes, he's making the exact same point that I'm making, and that is that while the idea of having a dedicated video game console that can also be your virtual reality machine, while that idea is fantastic and awesome, if you're looking at the Nintendo Switch to do that, I don't think you're looking in the right place. I mean, the Nintendo Switch is really not much better than the Virtual Boy in regards to how well it would be used for virtual reality. I think that Nintendo Switch is not the right console for this. So is this stuff found on the Nintendo Switch because Nintendo is planning on making a higher res version of the Switch? I don't know. I mean, that's always a possibility. Nintendo frequently updates their handheld systems. Look at the DS, look at the 3DS, look at the Game Boy. They constantly get iterated upon and slowly march forward with the tech. Is it possible that we get a new Nintendo Switch that has a higher resolution screen? While I see that as a possibility, I think it's a little soon. Or at least it's a little soon for me. I certainly don't want to go out and buy another Nintendo Switch already. I've only had this one for less than a year. Putting in chat says, with Labo, I'm not surprised to see Nintendo dipping their toes in VR. Well, I mean, that's a good point. Nintendo, who knows what the hell they're going to do? They're selling cardboard folding origami as a video game, and while it's not doing wonderful, it's also not doing terrible. So I mean, maybe we're going to see some VR from Nintendo. I don't think it'll be on the Nintendo Switch. I think that would be really, really bad. by all accounts, from people who I've spoken to who have used VR, unless you've got some beefy horsepower behind it, you're not going to have a frame rate that's high enough to avoid the motion sickness. And I think that that would be a big mistake on Nintendo's part to release VR for the Switch if the technology is not up to snuff. So that's my thoughts on it. Let's go back to chat. Res TV is saying, yes, Pudding, I could see something like this being used in Labo for a specifically designed low-res VR game, but trying to play any Switch title in VR would be barf-worthy. Barf-worthy. Oh, I love that. I may have to include that word in the show title today, Res. So thank you for that one. All right, let's move on. Barf-worthy. Save all. Whoops. All right, let me just zoom in real quick. And then we'll call that thank you. We'll call that sponsor. We'll call this intro. I'm trying to set it up so doing chapters later is really, really easy. Because I forgot to do chapters on the last episode. Pudding says, I don't like VR tech at all. I've always preferred AR. VR needs to be at least 120 frames per second at 2K and above resolution. It'll be a while before the Switch could do that. I don't think the Switch will ever do that. Maybe the next version of the Switch. But are they doing something where the next version of the Switch and this version of the Switch share the same software and continually are marching forward, kind of like the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, or the Xbox One and the Xbox One X? Maybe that's the kind of thing that happens. Yeah, maybe it's going to be a future Switch. All right. Let me close that. This was pretty interesting. Actually, we'll start with that. This was actually pretty interesting. Pokemon Quest, which, if you didn't know, is a game that came out on our mobile phones. So it started out on, or wait, where the hell did it start? No. It started out on our phones and then later came to the Switch, and it was this, is not a traditional Pokemon game, but it was a Pokemon game almost like a task simulator or something like that, where you had like this cooking pot in the middle of this camp on a blocky island, and you would use ingredients to cook, and then the scent of the ingredients cooking would attract Pokemon. Depending on what you were cooking, it would bring different types of Pokemon, and then they would be your friends, and then you could take the Pokemon and you could send them out on an expedition in order to fight other Pokemon and collect more stuff for you to cook. So I had like kind of an interesting gameplay loop. It's a free to play game, or as Nintendo likes to call it, free to start. And there's obviously microtransactions in it, and it seems like the microtransactions are doing well. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you if this is doing well or doing poorly, but I would certainly be happy with this. Pokemon Quest Mobile. So this is the phone version of the game. The phone version of the game basically made $8 million after just 1 month, which seems to me like that's pretty impressive. 1 month. In only 1 month, Pokemon Quest made Nintendo, or well, made the Pokemon Company $8 million. That is pretty crazy. I think that that's a lot. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's a lot. And like for me, that game didn't appeal to me at all. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. I could definitely tell that it was well made, but I also didn't think it was fun even a little when it came out. And, you know, I'm fine for a lot of people to disagree with me. But after 1 month making $8 million, I think that that's respectable. Now, when we talk about this, what I'm really curious about is how much money did Pokemon Quest make on the Switch? I think that is a much more interesting question because people are very used to playing free-to-play microtransaction-based games where the monetization model is all about getting you to spend a couple bucks now so that you have a certain currency and then you can use that currency to make things happen faster. You know, mobile games that are on your phone, they're always been like that. That's the kind of thing that we are very much used to in the mobile space. We're not really used to that yet on home consoles or even portable consoles like the Nintendo Switch or 3DS or that kind of thing. So I feel like people who would play Pokemon Quest on the Switch, they would be much less likely to invest cash into a game like that than people who are playing on the phone. At least that's how I would guess based on my experience playing games and talking to other people who play games like that. So I think that the Switch version of this is going to be much lower numbers, and not only that, but because of the install base. I mean, you look at the number of cell phones out there between iOS and Android. These things are going to make so much more money for a company putting a game out on it because there are lots and lots of these. And let's be honest, it's not like Pokemon Quest was really pushing the boundaries of what these devices could do. I will say this. I deleted Pokemon Quest really quickly off my phone, but if I could have played it in portrait mode, I probably would have played it longer. I didn't like always turning my phone sideways to play it. I think I would have been fine just playing it, holding it one hand and playing it like that. I believe it was Todd Howard who was talking about the Elder Scrolls. Oh man, what is the name of it? Not Legends. There Arena, maybe? No, I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's the new Elder Scrolls game that is coming out for mobile as well as console. It's a free game. I believe it's microtransaction heavy. He had put in that you can play the game like this in portrait mode because he called that meeting mode. So you could sit there when you were supposed to be doing something else and playing it, because it's really obvious what you're doing when you turn your phone sideways and start doing something. But if you're holding your phone like vertically or in portrait mode, then people just think you're probably texting or something like that, which or you know, sending an email related to work. And I don't know. I thought it would be better. Pokemon Quest, I thought it would be better served if I could play it in portrait mode. And I wonder if that $8 million number would have actually gone up if people could play in portrait mode. I'm curious as to what you guys think. You know, Pokemon Quest has been out for a while now, and I'm very curious as to what people think overall. Do you like that game? Do you not like that game? Is it a game where you're just like, well, I don't really care? But let me know. And there's a lot of different ways that you can let me know. You can send us a message on the Discord. That's runjumpstomp.com/Discord. You can send me an email. That's and I got a new email address. It's bill@runjumpstomp.com. All right. So you could send me an email at bill@runjumpstomp.com. Almost forgot about that. You can, the old email address still works, by the way. You can call and leave a voicemail at 260-RUN-JUMP. That's 260-786-5867. And just get a hold of me. Let me know. Are you still playing Pokemon Quest? after it's been out for a while. In fact, right after I finish recording this segment, I'm going to stop. I'm going to go on Twitter, and I'm going to post a Twitter poll asking if you guys are still playing that game. So please respond to that poll and let me know. We'll call that Pokemon Quest. And I should probably save project. SC224. Save. That would really be an interesting thing too, putting. Although I don't see myself playing it on the Switch at all. That's the kind of game I would only play on my phone. All right, let me go ahead and do that Twitter poll. We'll see if we start dropping frames as soon as I open up Twitter. Twitter is like a resource hog, I'll tell you that much. All right, so we'll tweet. Now that it's... Here, I'll switch the screen for you guys. Now that it's been out a while, are you still playing Pokemon Go? No, not Pokemon Go. What was it? Pokemon Quest. Where are you playing it? Well, actually, if so, are you playing it on mobile or Switch? I should use a hashtag there. Nintendo Switch. There we go. So now we'll turn that into a poll. We'll say I'm not playing it. Playing on mobile. Playing on Switch. What do you guys think of that poll? Should I add anything else? Lolworthy, I like playing Pokemon Quest when my girl and I are getting ready for bed and we're hanging out a little bit before going to sleep. So not being able to sync the saves scared you away. Reply with your reasons. All right. Tweet. There you go, guys. The tweet was sent. Oh, dang it. Actually, I don't need to do that. Here's the tweet. You guys can just click on that and then you can vote. All right. Moving on. By the way, during the last segment, you said Pokemon Quest was out on the phone, then on the Switch. It was the other way around, wasn't it, Pudding? Thank you for correcting me. Before we get to our next story, I just want to thank Pudding in chat because they corrected me. In the last segment, I said that Pokemon Quest was out on the phone first and then the Switch afterwards. It was actually the other way around. It went on Switch during E3, and then it went on the phone at the end of June, and I am an old, exhausted man who cannot remember things. So thank you very much, Pudding, for letting me know about that. All right, our last story of today. It's a pretty light news day. Somehow I still have already made it to 22 minutes, but the last story for today. Oh my goodness. Thank you very much for the host. Let me mute that though. Thank you for the host, Doomraiser. The Doomraiser, that's fortuitous. The last story of the day is Doom Eternal is coming to the Switch. I already mentioned that last episode, or maybe the episode before. I can't remember now. But I was very, very curious as to, like, here the big question was, when was Doom Eternal coming to the Switch? Was it going to be another case of it comes to the other platforms first and then the Switch later? And that's exactly what happened with Doom 2016. It came to the other platforms first, the Switch later. Wolfenstein 2 came to the other platforms first, the Switch later. Skyrim came to the other platforms first and Switch later. And that's pretty much been Bethesda's MO. They make the game for the other systems, and then they port it to the Switch. And that means that the people who chose the Nintendo Switch as their console of choice, they are left waiting for a little while longer, which it's not a big deal, but still, it'd be nice to be able to play the game while the zeitgeist is surrounding it. You know what I mean? So that was the big question for me as to whether or not Doom was going to be launching concurrently with the other platforms. And no, we're not going to have to wait because it is going to be coming out the same day on all platforms. That's because they weren't sure if they were going to bring Doom to the Nintendo Switch when the Switch first came out. And they decided, well, we're going to wait. They weren't sure if they were going to be bringing Wolfenstein 2 to the Nintendo Switch when they were making Wolfenstein 2. So we had to wait. But now that they've started development on a game and the Nintendo Switch is already out and they know that things are going very well, that's pretty compelling for Bethesda to say, yes, we're going to be bringing it to the Switch and it's going to be launching on the same day. And I think that that's awesome. This was from a Eurogamer interview with who is the person? Marty Stratton. And the very first question is, will the game launch on Switch at the same time as PC, PS4, and Xbox One? And Marty Stratton said that's the plan right now. We'll see. We're still way away from launching, but we've made the decision to make a Switch what we call internally a first-class citizen. He went on to ask, so you're developing it internally? And Marty says, no, it's still going to be Panic Button, basically. They go on to talk about a lot of different stuff in the interview, so I definitely suggest you check it out. Another very interesting, or not interesting, but important tidbit from this interview is that this game is also going to be targeting 30 frames per second, just like Doom was, or the previous Doom on the Switch was 30 frames per second. So if you liked Doom and you are looking forward to Doom Eternal, then there you go. One cool thing about the game that I found very interesting is you get to play as a demon and hunt down other players in their single player game, which is really, really cool. It's going to be a long way before we hear more about the game. It's going to be a long way before we get to play the game. So you've got time to check out the first one. And if you've not played it, you definitely should, because Doom is one of my favorite first-person shooters of all time. And if you haven't played it yet, I guarantee you are missing out. And I'm excited that this is going to be launching day and date with the other systems. That being said, I also own a PS4 Pro. I probably will end up buying it there instead of on the Switch, just because I'm not going to be playing this game portably. I don't feel like the Joy-Cons are a good fit for that kind of gameplay portably. But that's just me. If you only have a Switch and you don't pick it up, then you're probably going to be missing out on a really fantastic game. Doomraiser, thank you for the host in the middle of that segment about Doom. How good was that timing, huh? Doom is amazing, but I've had it for PS4 and Switch, and PS4 looks and plays so much better. Yeah, that's not a huge surprise. See you later, Rez. Thanks for stopping in. If you guys here, let me go ahead and do this. You guys should check out his stuff. Make sure you check out his stuff, and also let's caster Doom Razor. No, it's the Doom Razor, dummy. The Doom Razor. There we go. You were recently playing Dead Cells. What platform are you playing it on, Doom Razor? You didn't interrupt me, man. I forgot to hit the mute button on my speakers. You're playing it on Switch. Awesome. I've heard that there's some glitches with it, but they're working on it, which is good to hear. Good to hear. All right, let me grab a drink and then we'll wrap up this podcast. See, I don't have time to get addicted to that game because I just get killed so fast. All right. So at the beginning of the show, am I recording? I'm not recording. Hold on. All right. So at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a couple of things that were exciting, and I said I got one more to save for the end, and that is I've basically started another podcast. Now, if you are a patron, or a Patreon supporter, and if you're not, you can check it out over at patreon.com/runjumpstomp. But if you're a patron supporter, you already know about this. This is a podcast exclusive for patrons, and it doesn't have like a set release schedule, but it's probably going to be multiple times per week. The episodes are going to be very, very short. Most of them have been right around 10 or 15 minutes, and it's about non-Nintendo stuff. So I kind of felt like I wanted to be able to talk about non-Nintendo stuff, and some of it's even non-video game stuff. And I'm just making sure that people don't listen to every single episode of Switchcraft because I put out 3 episodes a week, and sometimes they don't have time. So I'm going to mention this for the next couple of next few episodes just to make sure that people hear about it. So that you can go check it out. We're talking about TV shows. I'm talking about other video game systems. I'm talking about just video game news in general. And it's whenever I find a story that I want to talk about but doesn't fit on Switchcraft for whatever reason, I fire up my recording software. I record like a 10 or 15 minute blurb about it, and then I post it. And so far, the response has been great. People have really been enjoying it, and I've been getting a lot of really great feedback from the patrons. So thank you guys very much for that. Again, if you want to check out that podcast that's exclusive for patrons, you can head on over to patreon.com/runjumpstomp. If you're looking for other ways to support the show, you can easily do that by heading on over to runjumpstomp.com/thank you. If you want to watch the show live, you can check it out at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp. And if you can't watch the show live because you are a busy person, then you can always check out the video of the show afterwards on YouTube over at youtube.com/you guessed it, Run Jump Stomp. All those links help me create more content. Thank you guys so much for your support. But before I thank the live chat and get out of here, I want to take a second and tell you about the music that is found on today's episode, which now I can't remember what it was. Give me just a second to find it. Okay. This music is provided by Zircon, and the song is called Donkey Kong Country by Fun Alphonic, which I'm not going to try and spell, or I'm sorry, I'm not going to have you try and spell it. I'll make sure that if you want to check out that song, go to runjumpstomp.com/music, and that's where you can check out the song that you heard at the beginning of the show and you're about to hear right now. Before we get out of here, I need to thank the live chatters. Those are the people that are hanging out with me today while I am recording the show. You guys are awesome and fantastic, and I'm just trying to find the list of them. Where is there? There we go. Today we've got Corona G8. We've got JD Hack, Lol Worthy, Mr. Cool Red Luigi, Fisto Pudding, Raptor James, Rock Roller 1 Up, Slow Cool, the Doom Razor, who hosted right in the middle of the show. Thank you for that, man. VNK, Virgo Pros, and of course the Lurkers. You guys are all awesome. Thank you for hanging out with me while I record the show. I really, really appreciate it. I will see you all next time. Oh, and the show is coming out tomorrow. So if you listened to this, or if you're watching this live, then you get to know everything that happens a whole day early, because the 14th is my anniversary, so I won't be doing the live show then. So this is what you would have been watching then. But anyway, I'm out of here. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.